ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me on Sunday Night Football Overtime. Broncos, Patriots. If you're a Commanders fan out there, salud. We got us one. One down, one to go. So, Patriots got that fourth win of the season. I didn't think it would be them. I thought it would be Arizona. But the Patriots got that win. And I didn't know if it would be Sunday night. I thought it was going to be Week 18 against the Jets. But I knew they had another win in them. Zappe's playing well. Their defense has played well really all season long. And while I didn't think it would be tonight, I thought they would be competitive. I thought they'd give themselves a chance. I just didn't think they'd have enough offensively against Denver's defense. But they prevailed. Although it got a lot tighter than most of us expected. When it got to 23-7 after that fumbled kickoff for the touchdown, this thing felt over. Me and Boss were sitting there watching the game, and he had been telling me all night New England's going to win. And I was like, get out of here with that. Because I wasn't going to let him get my hopes up. I don't know if I've told you how Boss operates. But Boss is one of those guys that tries to reassure you that everything's going to be okay. All right. And he's one of those guys, oh, no, don't worry. Y'all going to win the game. Don't come at me with that bullshit, man. I'm not trying to hear that. So my whole thought process was, don't try to hype me up on the Patriots winning this game because they ain't winning shit. In the back of my mind, I'm like, man, this would be a great Christmas gift. You know, they get this dub after what happened earlier with us dodging a bullet. It'd be great if the Patriots give us a nice shiny bow on top of this Christmas Eve gift that we got today. And sure enough, they were able to get it done. This turned out to be a really good ball game. At first, it was really sloppy and nasty, kind of what you would expect Broncos, Patriots to be with how these two teams are built and how they conduct their business. The Broncos 7-7 record is a bit misleading, especially the 6-2 that Russell Wilson was referring to, because even if you watch, you know that a lot of what they were able to do, a lot of the damage that was done came off the strength of their defense creating scoring opportunities. Just like the very first play of the game, sacking Bailey Zappe, ball comes out, and I don't know how they didn't scoop and score that, but you know, you get the ball at the 4-yard line, you're supposed to turn that into a touchdown, and they didn't. Not only did they not turn it into a touchdown, they didn't even get any points out of it. And I was telling Boss, when that sequence of events happened, you got to take the points. I know as disappointing as it was to not come away with 7 after being given the football on the very first play of the game, essentially first and goal from the 4-yard line, you're playing the New England Patriots. Understand thy opponent. Know that points are going to come at a premium tonight, and taking the points against a Patriots team that doesn't score the football very well is going to be paramount. Take the points. They went for the gusto. They didn't get it. And I thought that was a sign of things to come. Obviously, the Broncos lived in Patriots territory. Their first 3 possessions all started in plus territory. I mean, I just told you their first offensive snap came from the New England 4-yard line, and they couldn't get in. They had the second possession, if I'm not mistaken, was the Sims big punt return that set them up with great field position. If not, that particular situation, they just had great field position because of where the Patriots took over. Again, they took over at like their own 1 or 2 yard line because the Broncos couldn't get in, and they punted that football and ended up giving up great field position. Either way, their first 3 possessions started in Patriots territory, and they only had 3 points, I believe, or 7, excuse me. They ended up scoring on the third one. It was funny. My uncle was there with us. My dad and myself were watching the game, and all of us in unison said they're going to score this time. You know, you can't keep giving them opportunities and expect them not to come away with something. And then ultimately they did get the touchdown. But, it's just amazing how teams, like, I get analytics. I get why you, in those situations where you get a gift like the Patriots offered up on that first possession, I get why you want to get a touchdown there, kind of set the tone. You're playing with house money. You're not even supposed to be here, that sort of thing. If I don't get it, they got to go 98 yards the other way. I get all of that logic, but it's somewhat deflating when you don't get points out of that situation. And in a game where, the points aren't going to be free flowing, that field goal may ultimately come back to haunt you. And then look at what happened at the end of the game, right? That field goal would have been the difference potentially in the game, right? But instead, you don't take the points, and it is what it is. At the end of the day, what a gutsy performance by the New England Patriots, by Bailey Zappe. This defense has been really good. Christian Barmore with a career night. He has been playing his ass off this year. I remember telling Commanders fans when we played New England, look out for Christian Barmore. This guy's playing really well. And, watching him every time the Patriots are on, you just hear his name. You see him flashing. 90 is making another play. 90's in the backfield again. And for him to go out and have 3 sacks tonight on a national stage, it kind of announces him to the rest. Like, you're seeing guys like Justin Matabike, who's got like 87 sacks this year that nobody's really ever heard of. And Christian Barmore is now trying to insert himself into that defensive tackle conversation. A lot of good Alabama defensive tackles in this league, and he's one that kind of gets slept on a bit, not really mentioned when you start talking about the Quinnen Williams and the, Jonathan Allen and Deron Paynes of the world and all of these guys that have come from Bama, and that lineage. I mean, they were churning these guys out. Shawn Robinson, all of these guys come from Bama, and he might be one of the better ones, right? This was a coming out party for him. I'd love to know how many sacks he has on the season. It feels like he's probably closing very, very much so towards double digits. 3 sacks in one game is huge. I'd like to think that he had probably 4 or 5 coming into the game already. So that would put him somewhere in that 7-8 neighborhood. I'd love to know where he is. I'll probably have to look that up at some point. But that's a big win. And start with the Patriots. This is a team, and look, I still think Belichick is gone at season's end. I don't think that's going to change. What I do, however, see is Belichick announcing to the rest of the league, I'm not done. I still got some good football left in me as a coach. And if somebody's willing to give me opportunity, which someone will, I can still win. Just give me the pieces I need. This defense is damn good. He still can coach it up on the defensive side of football. That hasn't changed. So as far as I'm concerned, Belichick is like, hey, just give me the right pieces, right? And I can make this shit work. I can make this shit go. And I'm looking at the Chargers potentially. I'm looking at Washington is still on the board, even though, as a Washington fan, we don't want to hear anything about Bill Belichick. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up, because what we do know is he needs a quarterback wherever he goes. He needs a quarterback, but he can coach up some damn defense. That defense is playing some football. And Zappe is playing his ass off right now. You know who Zappe reminds me of? I was watching a game tonight, and I couldn't help myself. As a Commanders fan, I said, boy, he looks like goddamn Taylor Heineke. Even down to the number he's wearing, number 4. Like, he's Taylor Heineke all over again. Scrappy, just elusive enough to make things happen, gets guys to buy in and believe. And I think Zappe is a guy that you can win some football games with. I don't think you can, go to the playoffs or do any damage with him, but I think you can definitely win some football games with Bailey Zappe. Again, he reminds me a lot of Taylor Heineke. And we saw what Heineke did today for the Falcons, beating the Indianapolis Colts. Heineke's that type of guy, right? He gives you a shot, and I feel the same way about Bailey Zappe. And a lot of those guys stepped up tonight. but none bigger than Zappe. You know, that throw to Demario Douglas to start the third quarter off, I felt like was a turning point in the game. You know, defense comes out, gets a 3 and out. First play, they get a sack on Russell Wilson, kills that drive. They punt the football. Zappe steps up in the pocket, kind of scrambles up a bit towards the line of scrimmage, rifles it down the field. Demario Douglas makes a diving catch, and from that point forward, they kind of took off. And they, you know, and then the last thing I'll say about them is Chad Ryland, the rookie kicker. We were having a spirited debate over it at our house tonight because my dad didn't know who Chad Ryland was and what his season had been. Neither did my uncle, right? Most people don't know what other teams' field goal kickers are doing. That's a me thing, right? I'm a fiend. This is what I do, right? So I'm explaining to them, this dude ain't shit. Now he's a rookie, and you know how I have a soft spot for rookie kickers. Young kickers in their career, you know how I am. All right, I cape for young kickers because eventually they're going to figure this shit out. If they've got talent, and this kid clearly does, that's why New England selected him with the draft pick. He's going to figure the shit out. Now, at some point, you can't keep waiting on a young kicker to figure it out. And eventually you'll move on from him and he'll figure it out elsewhere. And then you'll look back and say, damn, what could have been, but it just wasn't going to be for you. That's just the way it goes, right? Ryland's struggling this year. All right. He'd come into the game. He had already missed 7 kicks. I've watched every single game that they've played in, and I've watched just about every single one of his misses and how inconsistent he's been. And the one thing I can say about Belichick is he never blinked. You know, I mean, what are you going to do? You spent a pick on this kicker. Now, I really truly believe had the Patriots been good this year, they might have made a move to go out and get a veteran. Mason Crosby was out on the streets. They might have went and done something along those lines had they been in the midst of something serious. But because their season was already pretty much down the drain, there was no need to do anything rash. You spent the draft pick on this guy. Just let him figure it out. But he had struggled. And I told him the first kick, I said, he's going to make this because he's close. It was like 33 yards, which is an extra point. I said, but I'm telling you right now, if they ever get a field goal kick 45 yards or further back, he's going to miss. He's going to miss. And sure enough, the second field goal was from 47 yards. And, of course, he pushed it wide right. Then he missed an extra point. And that's when my dad was like, oh, man, you were right about this dude. I don't trust his ass at all. So, of course, we get to the end of the game. And, of course, fate would have it. He's got to deliver if the Patriots are going to be victorious. And my dad's like, this is the one he's going to make. Trust me. He's going to make this one. I'm like, he ain't making shit. That's what I told my dad. I was like, he ain't making shit. And sure enough, from 6? No, it wasn't that far. It was like 53 or 54, something like that, I think. The one for Denver's kicker Will Lutz before the half was 57, I think. It was like 53 or 54 though. And he drilled it right down the middle, center cut. Like it was never a doubt whether that kick, like as soon as it left his foot and it straightened up, he knew he was already celebrating. Like there was no doubt about that one. And it would have been good from 60. That thing hit the net and everything. Good for him, man. Good for him. After the struggles he had tonight and, you know, how things had gone for him throughout the season. You know, he's missed now 8 kicks in his rookie season, which is a hell of a lot of kicks for a field goal kicker, especially when you haven't attempted, 45 kicks this year. You know, this guy's only attempted like 22 kicks or something like that. So you got a pretty lousy percentage in your rookie campaign, but that's a big one. That's one he'll always remember. And maybe this will get him on the path that he needs to be on to jumpstart his career in the right direction. But that probably feels really good for Chad Ryland, a guy who has struggled mightily this season. So you go to Denver's side of the equation, and this is pretty much their season. They're pretty much done at this point. I already told you guys, we went over this on the podcast on Friday, and I went through the AFC and NFC playoff pictures and talked about all the teams that I felt like were truly involved in the discussion, and I said Denver isn't going anywhere. They're done. They had their opportunities starting 1-5, and to get to where they were was an accomplishment and a feat in itself. But again, anybody watching how they were able to dig themselves out of that 1-5 hole and play 6-2 football over the last 2 months knows that this is a team that relies heavily on their special teams and defense to create short fields for an offense that is anemic and incapable of consistently putting good drives together and scoring the football. And so the question while they were winning games was, how long can they sustain creating 3 or 4 or 5 turnovers a game and turning those turnovers into points? How long can they sustain that? Eventually, they're going to run out of turnovers that they're forcing. Like, that turnover well is going to run dry. And when it does, what happens then? Well, they forced some turnovers tonight. It's not like they didn't force some turnovers. And there were some more opportunities. The play that they really needed was that muff punt by New England's punt returner. And somehow they managed to not recover it. It was amazing that they weren't able to do that. But after they were down 23-7, I had pronounced them dead. Boss had pronounced them dead. And, it was almost like waiting for I just needed to see it through because I wasn't really believing what my eyes were watching. It was kind of sort of like the Steelers game with these Patriots team where you go, is this really happening? I just needed to make sure that I saw this thing through. And I'm glad I did because, had I just assumed that 23-7, Denver wasn't going to be able to score 16 points to tie the game up, I would have been, flabbergasted at finding out this game was tied and Denver actually had the ball with the chance late to win this game, but they couldn't get it done. And, the fact that not only did Denver have the football after stopping New England, they punted the ball and then they gave it back to New England, who really was looking to play for overtime. And you gave up the big play to Devontae Parker, and that kind of sparked them to go for the win. And another thing, and these are the little small things that bad football teams just don't do, right? Or teams that just aren't playoff bound. These are the types of things that they do. And I'm sitting there watching the game with my dad. And Denver punched the ball to New England at the very end. This is the last punt of the game for Denver. After they had a chance, tied at 23 with the football, all 3 of their timeouts, or I think at that point, 1 timeout was remaining. And they had a shot to go down and get in the field goal range. And they actually, New England had a foobar, right? Their kicker, their punter booms it. I mean, this thing might have traveled 80 yards. It kicks up right around the 2-yard line. And I'm like, if this thing checks up and this thing goes out of bounds at like the 2-yard line, that's the greatest punt I've ever seen in my life. Of course, it went into the end zone. He kicked the shit out of the football. And even the fact that it was a touchback was amazing from where he kicked it. So now they got to go 80 if they want a touchdown, which they don't need. They just roughly need about 35 yards or so, but they still got to go get that, right? And this is a Denver Broncos offense that struggles to move the football. 35 yards is a lot for them. So then they have an illegal procedure due to the Patriots, and they have to kick the ball again. And of course, this punt isn't as good, and it's a 19-yard difference. And I'm like, wow, you really about to lose the game on some bullshit like that, huh? But that's why you 3-11. But the defense rises to the occasion. They get the stop. And so Denver has to punt now. And they punt the ball, and it's just these little things, right? It's just like I'm amazed at how many guys don't know the rules, guys who just aren't smart football players, like low IQ, right? They punt the ball. At this point now, if you're Denver, you're playing for overtime. You had your chance. Now New England's getting it. They got a timeout left. There's roughly 45 seconds or so. That ball hits the ground. The New England return man doesn't fair catch it. He lets it hit the ground. It bounces, and then it dies. And there's like 4 Bronco players surrounding the ball. And everybody knows, all fans at home knows what you're supposed to do in this situation when you're trying to make sure that there's the least amount of time left on the clock. You don't touch the football. You just let it sit there until the official blows the whistle. There was another 2 to 3 seconds that ball could have sat there before the official comes running in to stop the clock. This clown picks up the ball and stops the clock, and ultimately New England had 2 seconds left to kick that damn field goal. If you don't touch that football, it changes everything, because when they got that completion to the tight end at the end with no timeouts and they had to run up and spike it, it would have been 15 or 14 seconds. It would have changed the way that they thought. It would have changed everything, potentially. Instead, this clown touches it, and that was the 2 seconds that they needed to get off that field goal. And again, it's just the little things, man, just the little small details that the good teams get right and the bad teams F up. And anyway, I digress. That was their last opportunity to try to make a run at the playoffs. You couldn't afford to drop. There's too many good teams. There's too many teams that have played good football this season for you to drop to 7 and 8 and think you got a shot. Hell, even the Steelers, who were struggling and had lost 3 in a row, even they won and got to 8 and 7. Like 7 and 8, you're dead. Dead, I tell you. So that was it. Like we saw the numbers. A win put them at 45% chance of making the playoffs. A loss dropped them all the way down to 5%. They're dead. Their season's pretty much done. It's been a roller coaster of a first season for Sean Payton with Russell Wilson. I'm dying to know how that dynamic has really been received in that locker room, what Sean Payton really thinks of Russell Wilson. Is this a marriage that can last for multiple years, or will Sean Payton be looking for a replacement here as soon as they can get out of that Russell Wilson contract? I'm really interested to see how that goes, because it really hasn't been a smooth transition. And to me, Russell Wilson doesn't fit into a Sean Payton type of offense. You know, Russell Wilson, we saw him at his best. You know, he's an off script, off schedule, you know, shot taker down the field type of guy. I don't know if he fits into the short passing game, which is what Sean Payton likes to do. Run the football, short passing game, and of course, you're running the football sets up some shots down the field. But really, you think about Drew Brees and all of those years in New Orleans, a lot of quick passes underneath, a lot of getting the ball into your playmaker's hands. That's just not how Russell Wilson plays the quarterback position. So anyway, Denver's now 7 and 8 after the 26-23 loss at the hands of the Patriots. And for us Commanders fans, that 4-11 never looked so sweet as the New England Patriots improved to 4-11. And now we got some much needed company with 4 wins. Now the question is, can New England bypass us and get that 5th win and not even make it come down to tiebreakers? We'll see. I still think they can beat the Jets in week 18. Again, Zach Wilson comes back, it changes everything. But if they got Trevor Siemian at quarterback, this Patriots team is going to beat the Jets. They already own the Jets as is. You put Trevor Siemian under center, and Belichick is going to abuse him. So I think they might have one more win in them, man. I don't even know if we'll need the tiebreakers with these bastards. This is beautiful. This was house money. We weren't supposed to be here talking about one of the 2 teams getting the win and getting the 4 if it wasn't Arizona. They were playing the Bears. That was the one. They lost. I said, oh, well, you know, we'll try again next week, right? See if we can get different results. The Patriots are like, whoa, wait a minute. So you're just going to disrespect us like we don't have a shot? I'm like, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with mine right now. He's like, well, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. Cheers to the New England Patriots. We are one step closer to the number 2 overall pick. Now, again, strength of schedule really comes into play, but the Dolphins beating the Cowboys helps us, or rather, it hurts us, or it helps us, excuse me. The Dolphins beating Dallas is a double whammy for New England, right? Because it increases Miami's or New England's strength of schedule, also decreasing it at the same point because the Patriots played Dallas and Dallas lost. So it decreases the strength of schedule for the Patriots because they play Miami twice and Miami just won another game. Meanwhile, Dallas lost. We played Dallas twice. They just lost. We played Miami. Now Miami won, but we only played Miami once. We played Dallas twice. And so Dallas losing that game, it lowers our strength of schedule. The Giants are going to lose, but it's going to be canceled out because Philadelphia is going to win. But that's a double whammy because not only do you strengthen their schedule by Dallas or Miami winning, it weakens our strength of schedule with Dallas losing, and you get to 4 wins. So we're in a great position. Now it's all about execution down the stretch. We just need one more favor, Arizona, to find a way to beat somebody. It's not going to happen in week 17, but week 18, there is a shot, I believe, an outside shot. I forget who they're playing in their division in week 18. I think it's San Francisco. If the 49ers have it already sewn up, though, I feel like they've already played San Francisco twice. It may be the Rams, and the Rams will need it for the playoffs. So we might be asked out with Arizona. But look, 3, you got no complaints out of me. Now you got a decision to make because the assumption was, oh, you'll never be able to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. He'll be gone at 3. Well. Now we're at 3. Now you got a decision to make. Tackle, receiver, or quarterback. I think the decision has been made very easy over the last 5 weeks. I think you're looking at this quarterback position. And again, you got to love one of these dudes. But if you do, you're in a position to get one. If you don't push it. Get the elite player because there'll be several available at number 3, right? So again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We're going to have a hell of an offseason in front of us, but this is being executed to perfection right now. Even though we tried to F it up today, the end result is all that matters, okay? This is a results-based business, and we lost, and the Patriots won. Salud. All right. Let's get to the comment section, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see. Y'all know how this works. If you're out there and you want your comment to be read, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air if it is pertinent. If you want to ensure that your comment is read, because we're not going to spend here all night here. Obviously, it's Christmas Eve. It's Christmas now on the East Coast. Merry Christmas to all of you on the East Coast. You got stuff to do. I got gifts to wrap, all that good stuff. So I'm not going to be able to, kick it with y'all the normal hour and 20 minutes. So if you want your comment read and discussed, super chats are the way to get that done because we're going to get in and out of here rather quickly. So we start with Bronco Kid. Been a member for 6 months. Bronco Kid writes, "You're welcome, Lou. LOL. This season was fun. Thank you." Hey, look, we need all the season's greetings, all the gifts from each and every single team out there. And the Jets was in a giving mood today, even though they tried to piss it away. But they ultimately came through with a beautiful gift under the tree for us. The Patriots, hit us with a little small package there. Broncos said, "Hey, man, we got a little something for you too." And so the outpouring of support and love for the Commanders right now has been overwhelming. Like I didn't anticipate this much for Christmas, but I watched Dallas lose to the Dolphins. That was a nice little gift under the tree. I mean, it doesn't get much better than what I was able to see today. As a wise man once said, today was a good day. Today was a good day. Relevant Jesse, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Relevant Jesse writes, "Week 18 is Arizona versus Seattle. So you're telling me there's a chance." That's what you're telling me. The one team in the division that I think Arizona can beat. So you're telling me there's a chance. Is that game by any chance in Arizona? I'm trying to think about the first time that these two met and where that game was played. My guess is it was probably played in Arizona. I don't recall Kyler Murray playing against Arizona, so it probably came with Joshua Dobbs. I really feel like Dobbs went to Seattle earlier this season, played well, but they just didn't play well enough and they lost. I'd bet him any amount of money that game is in Arizona week 18. I'm pretty sure Josh Dobbs went to Seattle earlier, like week 6 or something like that, and lost. They fought, but lost. That game's in Arizona. I'm pretty sure of it. Hell yes. Hell yes. Relevant Jesse. Hell yes. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Let's see. Let's get to the comment section and see what you guys are talking about now. All right. So we'll get to a few of these, get to as many of these as we can before we get out of here. Like I said, I'm not going to hold y'all here, but so long. Let's see if there's anything for me. It may not be anything for me here. John Wynn writes, is Mr. Zappe better than Mac Jones and Tom Brady in the past at New England as quarterback? Well, we'll leave the Tom Brady portion out because that was a typo. You didn't mean to type that part in. But is he better than Mac Jones right now? Yeah, I liken Mac Jones to Sam Howell, where he's lost his confidence. And that's a brutal thing to watch a quarterback go through. I watched Mac Jones, who came into the league with just an abundance of confidence, led the Patriots to the playoffs, right? He was fronting like his doo-doo don't stink early on in his career. And I think it went to his head a bit, and then he was humbled. And then the shit started to snowball, and he really lost it. And I think to me, the game that signified, hey, brother is struggling mentally was the game over in Germany against the Colts. They had no business losing that game. You got a wide open receiver in the end zone, and this man throws it like 5 yards short to the Colts defender. And you go, was he touched? Did the ball get tipped? Something happened, right? And you watch the replay and nothing happened. He just had a brain fart and he threw it to the wrong color jersey. And you just know, and in that moment, you knew, uh-oh, he's broken. He's a broken man. And I've pretty much seen the same thing with Sam Howell. He's a broken man at this point. So he's better than Mac Jones. And, another thing that it isn't on the side of Mac Jones, he just doesn't have any mobility. And that was one of the issues with him coming out of Alabama is he's a stationary target. Zappe can move. So there's that as well. Got a super chat here. So I'm going to take that from Nate Master. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Nate writes, what would it take to trade from number one from 3 for Washington? It'd take a hell of a lot. Like, it doesn't matter if you're trading from 2 to 1, from 3 to 1. The Bears are in the driver's seat. And I didn't watch the game today. I was live with you guys, but I heard Justin Fields played his ass off today. And again, he's making a strong case. There's been a lot more good than bad these last, let's call it 8 games. I think he's been back now 8 games. There's been a lot more good than bad from Fields. And I don't know. I mean, that's a hell of a decision. Somebody said earlier, Washington's GM is going to have a heck of a decision on his hand. No. What the Bears GM, Ryan Poles, is dealing with is a hell of a decision because you're going to have to decide, am I done with Justin Fields? And again, he did not select. Ryan Poles did not select Justin Fields. So again, he's within right to move on from him. But understand that Fields may turn out to be really good, and this young quarterback may come in here and not be good at all. And that's the risk you run. Are you willing to bail on Justin Fields as he continues to develop and grow? Or do you just see Caleb Williams as a guy that you just can't pass up on? So I think I'm not as high on Caleb Williams as a lot of you are. I do see the talent, but I see a lot of red flags too. I see a lot of stop signs that people and red lights that people are running through with him, but I digress. What would it take? It'd take probably 2 first rounders, One of those twos that we have in this year's upcoming draft in 2024, take one of those twos. I don't think it'll take both of them, but it'll take a 1 this year, a 1 next year, a 2 this year, and I'd say something like a 5 next year, something like that. That'd be my guess. I mean, think about what Carolina had to give up to get to number 1. So Carolina gave up they swapped ones last year. Carolina gave up their 1 this year as well. I think Carolina gave up their 2 last year. And if I'm not mistaken, because that's why the Bears still have a second round pick, because I think they might still have Carolina's. Not sure about that one though. And then they got DJ Moore, which kind of acted as a de facto 1. So it was essentially 3 1s, but they were all the way at 9, right? So that was a little bit different. So and it was really 2 1s. I don't really like the ones that cancel out where you swap. I don't really consider that a 1. So it's the 1 in 2024, which is what the Bears currently have as the number 1 overall pick right now, and then DJ Moore, right? So those were the 2 big pieces in that trade. And there may have been a second rounder in there as well, and then another 4th or 5th rounder or something like that. I think it'll take 1-1. Right, so you'll swap ones. They'll go from 1 to 3, 1 next year in 2025, and then I think it'll take maybe a player. It all depends, and it may take if they say, hey, give us Jahan Dotson, you may have to do it, right? I don't think that's what would happen. I don't think that would be what they would be after at that point. And I don't know if there's any other positions that you really want to poach from Washington's roster. But I think it would just strictly be draft capital. A 1 next year. You swap 1s this year, a 1 next year, a 2 this year, right? Because we got 2 of them. So I need one of those up off you. And then maybe like a 5 next year or something like that. That's what I think it would take. And that's a guess. I don't know. We're usually so far off on draft capital, it's not even funny. We usually botch that, right? Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Merry Christmas, Lou, and happy holidays to all. Likewise, Red Wings, likewise. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Really, truly do appreciate you and yours. I'll be honest, I did not watch our game for fear it would ruin my day and my passion for this season, but he said season is all but dead. So kudos to y'all for holding it down. I don't blame you. I don't like the mental space that I'm in right now with this team. I don't like rooting against my favorite team. That goes against everything that I stand for as a fan. I don't give a shit how down bad my team is. Generally, one of the cardinal sins is you don't root against your team. You just don't. But I understand, having been in essentially NFL purgatory and hell for the last 2.5 decades, I know what it's like to not have one of these guys. I know the impact that having a guy can do for your organization, and the fact that we're getting a new GM and you want to arm him with as many resources as possible, including the highest draft pick that you can possibly get. You got all the cap space you could ask for. You got a number of picks in the top 100. You may add another one in this offseason, depending on what happens with Jonathan Allen. I've already said that I think they're going to trade him for a second-round pick. When it's all said and done, you want to give your new GM and head coach all the resources that you can afford them coming into the door to try and help them turn this thing around as quick as possible. I understand that even though I would like to see this team win, it does not benefit us. We're not going anywhere. Winning, I've seen many a game at the end of a season that this team has won for no reason, that gets them to 7-9. Under Dre Gruden, we would do it all the time, win meaningless games at the end of the season. And instead of having the 8th or the 9th pick in the draft, we'd end up with the 14th or 15th pick in the draft. I've seen that happen so many times. I'm over that. And I understand what needs to be done. I don't like it, but I understand it. And I have to embrace it. And so I get it. I get not wanting to watch for fear of tarnishing what is your, fandom. It chips away at it when you do stuff like this. I truly feel that way. It chips away at your fandom, rooting against your team. That's not something I enjoy. I told you guys, I hate this with every fiber of my being. I hate what we're doing. I hate where we are. I'd much rather be talking about, hey, how can we find a way to weasel our way into the playoffs? But I'm over that too. I'm sick and tired of trying to backdoor our way into the postseason. Like, it's okay to do that at the beginning of you trying to figure it out. Like in 2020, when we weaseled our way into the playoffs, I was cool with that. You know why? Because that was supposed to be the beginning of Rivera turning things around in Washington. So while we were, a lot of people like, I don't know, I don't want to go to the playoffs. We're just going to get there and we're going to get destroyed. And I was like, I want these guys to get the experience. I want Chase Young. I want Montez Sweat. I want Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Terry McLaurin to experience the playoffs, because that's the nucleus. And if we're going to be a successful team, those guys need to know what postseason football tastes like. And I was totally fine with us going at 7-9 and winning the division that year, because I thought it was the beginning of Ron's plan. What I didn't know is that we would never get back. There was no Ron's plan. And this team was not going to be that much better than they were that year in 2020, and that we would be stuck in mediocrity essentially as a middling to below average franchise for the next 3 years. Now culminating in Ronald Rivera and company being fired, and this team really truly bottoming out. Like I don't remember what the Vegas odds were win total wise for us and what the number was set at. I think it was 6.5. If I really was a gambling man, I would have slapped down like a rat on that. I'd have put $1,000. We're winning 6.5 games? Really? Okay. All right. That's some free money for my ass right there. Let me get that. There's no way I thought we would be sitting where we're sitting right now. No way. Even though I didn't trust the offensive line, even though that I didn't trust the defense, there's no way I thought we'd be sitting here talking about 4-13, because that's where we're heading. There's no way. And a lot of fans being proud of it. But that's what we've been reduced to, and that's what's necessary for this team to have a shot. We need a quarterback, man. And if Sam Howell isn't it, we need a guy that is. Red Wings 0-1, been a member for 14 months. Right. Landing pick 3 was a nice consolation prize, though. It definitely was. Now, again, we're not out of the woods yet. Okay. This isn't as cut and dry as, hey, we're the only team with 4 wins, so we already know what it is. We're going to have to fight these dudes off from a strength of schedule standpoint. Okay. Like, it's not a done deal. I don't think Buffalo's losing another game this season, so that's going to help. Miami winning today is massive, and then they can continue to really push the envelope and set up a Week 18 showdown with. We're going to need them to lose a game in order to do that. So whatever, as long as those two keep winning, it's good for us in the strength of schedule department. Obviously, it enhances our strength of schedule the more that Buffalo and Miami wins as well, because we played them. However, it's double duty for New England because those two are in their division and they played them twice. Meanwhile, Washington, having Dallas lose today, lowers the strength of schedule. Beautiful, right? New England winning hurts us, but it hurts. It doesn't hurt New England. It's New England, right? That stuff, I don't want to get, it makes my head hurt. We're number 3. That's all that matters, okay? And all we could ask for was just let everybody have 4 and let the chips fall where they may. Now we just need Arizona to do their part, win a damn game. If they don't, and they have the number 2 pick, they're probably not going to take a quarterback. But this is the problem with Arizona. They could trade out of there and let somebody else come and take a quarterback. Like that same Patriots team we fighting with, tussling with, they may say, hey, New England, Washington is definitely taking a quarterback. Either I'm going to sell my pick to Washington or you got to come take it, but somebody's taking his pick off my hands. What you going to do, right? So you might have emboldened Arizona and put them in a position of power because they may force Washington to have to trade up, which I don't want to do. And if you only like 2 quarterbacks, then you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because if you say to yourself, oh, I only like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, I don't want Drake May. Well, if the Cardinals say, hey, I'm selling to the highest bidder, either you come up from 3 to 2 and get this pick so you can get your quarterback, I'm going to sell this bitch to New England, and whatever they do with it is on them. You had your chance, right? So, you thinking, well, Arizona's not going to take a quarterback. You don't know what the hell Arizona's going to do with this pick, okay? You have no idea. All right, we got the one team out of the way that we know is taking a quarterback of the two. But that doesn't mean Arizona ain't going to play hardball. That doesn't mean they're just going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. or they're going to take a tackle or they're going to take, somebody not named Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels. Again, they could sell to the highest bidder. And they may force us to have to give up some shit to get up there to get what we want. So it can get ugly. The best thing to have happen is to just move their ass out of the way. Get them out of number 2, get ourselves into that 2 hole, and then you don't have to deal with any of that. Easier said than done, obviously. Zoe Life, No Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Merry Christmas. Yo, LT, Merry Christmas. Not going to lie. I wanted us to win with Hal, but we saw Sam Darnold again. Anyway, the GM don't care what we want, so DC country, let's ride. I've already said. I don't really, at this point, I just want that GM that comes in here to have the highest draft pick possible. That's been my stance. Whether he takes a quarterback or he believes in Hal and wants to give him another opportunity, wants to take one of the tackles, wants to take a receiver, whatever, doesn't bother me one bit. Whatever he decides to do, I'm going to ride with it. That includes taking a quarterback. That includes taking a receiver. That includes taking a tight end, trading back, taking a tight end, trading back, taking a tackle, trading back, taking an edge rusher, whatever. Whatever that GM decides to do, I'm on board. I'm riding. Okay? So we're going to see. I just want that GM to be armed with the best pick that this team can possibly generate for that new GM and head coach. Right now, 2 is as high as you can get. Well, let's get after 2. And if you can't make it to 2, let's get to the 3rd pick. And that's where we are right now. All right. Let's get to comment section again and see what you guys are talking about. We'll go to an hour. Once we get to an hour, we're out of here. We're out of here. John Wynn says, I was literally screaming earlier in the video after I said Seattle Seahawks won against Titans today, plus Lions beat Vikings, so I'm close to clinching the playoffs for my Seahawks. I already think you're going to make it. I've already said, I see you guys getting 3 teams in San Francisco, Seattle, and the Rams, so I'm not shocked. Y'all pushed it to the limit today, but I thought y'all would find a way to win, and you did. John Wynn says, I was at school like 2 years ago in person. I was watching a Home Alone movie in class because one of our teachers made me and my classmates watch it. So you just saw Home Alone? That's crazy. That's crazy. John Wynn says, the Home Alone first movie wasn't too bad, honestly, except they got curse words in it. Anyway. Let's keep it pushing. John Wynn says, now I understand why you were raging earlier about wanting the new QB next year. I mean, I just wanted my guy, Sam Howell, to be good. That's what I really wanted. But, you can't have everything you want, And maybe this is a sign that I don't know what I want. And what I want isn't maybe what's best for the team, which is why I take a step back and say, hey, I want whatever the GM wants. I am not as prideful. My ego is not in the way. I just want to win. I don't have to be right for me to be happy. That's where I differ from a lot of fans. Is a lot of fans want to be able to point and say, I told you so. I don't give a shit. I was wrong about Sam Howell. I'm going to prove to be wrong, even though, as I said before, and you know what I'm about to say, we failed him before he failed us, just like we did with Carson Wentz. But at the end of the day, he didn't turn out to be the guy. And what we can talk about all the reasons why, but at the end of the day, he turned out not to be the guy. So there you go again. John Wynn says, can you remind me again when Bill Belichick's expected to be fired? As season's end, he'll move on and he'll land right on his feet somewhere. My guess has been, I know Chargers fans want Jim Harbaugh rather. I've been seeing a lot of Chargers fans courting Jim Harbaugh. I think it's Bill Belichick, personally. And if you're a Washington fan, don't count out Bill Belichick here to Washington either. I know you guys, I'm included. Okay, I can't even separate myself from you this time. I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear that shit. I don't either, but do not rule out a Bill Belichick situation here in Washington. And I will say this, if you're a Sam Howell stan, Belichick coming on board is about the best thing that could happen for Sam Howell, because Belichick got to see Sam Howell up close and personal. That was one of Sam's better games. He did have the bad interception right before the half, but Sam more than made up for it with his play throughout that game and the touchdown throw to Jahan. And so I truly believe that Belichick is like, hey, we could win with, this guy at quarterback. But I'll just say this. I still expect this team to draft a quarterback with whatever pick they get, second, third, fourth. I still expect them to draft a quarterback when it's all said and done. So there's that. Anyway, I digress. Barry Curtis says, the Bears looking comfortable with Fields. If we wanted Caleb, could be ours. Something else that is no one's really talking about, all I keep hearing is bring Caleb Williams. You know what I'm starting to think? Bringing players home isn't the best thing to do. Caleb Williams being from here, Olu Fashanu being from here, I don't think that's the best thing. Chase Young was from here, and it was the worst thing that happened to Chase Young. And his family even said they did not want Chase Young back in D.C. And I think what we've seen is that there's been a struggle when players go home. They struggle to deal with all of the distractions that come with being home. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if bringing Caleb Williams home is the best thing in the world, but we'll see. See what happens. All right. See what happens. We got 8 minutes left. So John Wynn writes, so this is where we had started. I don't know why I didn't go all the way to the top, but we already knocked out, I think, one or two comments from this area right here. So Larry Alderman writes, Denver has 2 division games left. They might do something. Denver's done. It doesn't matter what they have left. Here's the problem. The division games that they have aren't against teams that are vying for playoff spots. They've already played Kansas City. That's the only other good team in their division, right? So if their 2 games are left are against, and I think they got 2 backup quarterbacks. They've got Easton Stick and the Raiders rookie quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, on the schedule, which is fine. But that doesn't affect what Houston does. That doesn't affect what Cleveland does. That doesn't affect what Pittsburgh does. So if you get what I'm saying, they needed to play those teams in order to really affect change. They needed to win this game to put themselves in that conversation. But they're not playing Buffalo. They're not playing, Houston. They're not playing other teams that are vying for a playoff spot. So at the end of the day, oops. I think y'all can still hear me. I accidentally plugged the camera out of the computer. My bad. So I'm gonna see if I can get the camera back up. It's just taking a while to do it. So let's see if I can get it to pop back up here. Sorry about that. We're about to get out of here anyway, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're not playing other teams that are vying for those wild card spots. Is essentially what I was getting at. They're going to need help, and that's the worst place to be at the end of the season. Is vulnerable and needing to rely on other teams to do your dirty work. They got a lot of help today. You saw they put up a checklist on the screen today that essentially said this is all the things that Denver needed in order to really put themselves in a position. And they got everything except Buffalo losing to the Chargers, and it almost happened. And then they go and do this against New England. They're not serious. And I said the same thing about Pittsburgh, and I feel the same way about Denver. You ain't trying to make the playoffs. You ain't serious. Because if you losing to New England and Arizona and teams like you ain't trying to make the playoffs. It's one thing if that's a family member. Like Buffalo lost to New England. That's a family member, though. We can excuse that behavior. You can't lose to them. And that was in New England. Not that that matters, but it was in New England. Buffalo has New England at home next week. Trust me, they're not letting go of the rope, right? They're not going to find a way to lose at home to New England. You lost at home to the New England Patriots. Like that's a sin that you can't come back from. All right. Derek B. Right. So were the Pats counting Mississippi's before rushing Russ on the Hail Mary? No, they just weren't. Like they knew he couldn't throw it 80 yards. So they weren't too pressed to get to him because they knew he couldn't get it to the end zone. So what they wanted to do was they dropped 9 essentially, and they were trying to protect against the, tossing the ball around. So you don't want to rush a whole bunch of guys and leave your back end exposed if they start tossing the ball around. So they just rushed 2 guys. That's it. So it felt weird. It looked weird, but it was all because they knew, hey, he can't get it to the end zone. So the only way they could beat us is if somebody catches it and tosses it to somebody else, and we're out of position. We're not letting that happen. So I mean, I get why they did what they did. All right. Derek B. writes, I see you've converted and come over to the Tankathon crew. It's fun, right? No, it's not fun. I told you, this is not how I'm set up, Derek B. But I'm doing this out of necessity. I don't have a choice. Like, I know that if this is done correctly, I'll never have to do that. Well, I won't say never. That's a strong one. I won't have to do this for a very long time. I won't have to do this for a very long time. And that's the hope, is that you find a guy and we are out of this purgatory once and for all. Because I'm sick of this shit, man. It's like a never-ending cycle that we've been in. And I'm just ready for it to be over with, to be honest with you. Kevin writes, hey, Lou, my pack better give J-Love a defense unlike A-Rod. We can't keep striking out on DC. Also, what do you think a Love contract extension looks like? Yeah, they got to do right by the young fella. They got a young team. They got to figure it out. They're going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator at season's end, I believe. And they need to get that right. There are plenty of guys that are hungry, that are young in the game, that could come in and maybe be ready to have an opportunity to be a defensive coordinator. You just got to find that guy. And maybe there's a guy that just doesn't get a job, like a Jiro Evero, that is in Carolina that's going to be gone at the season's end because the new staff is coming in there. More likely than not, he won't be there. And or maybe he will. I mean, if I'm an offensive coordinator or I'm an offensive head coach that is hired and I still need a defensive coordinator, I'm just like, hey, Evero, bro, if you want to be here, hey, I'd love to have you, right? But if you're Green Bay, you may have to say, hey, we'll pay you whatever they're paying you. We'll pay you more. We'll make you the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league if we need to. Come on over here, make it happen. But as far as a Jordan Love extension looks, contract extension and what that looks like, hard to say. Obviously, you rolled the dice with him. You gave him a one-year deal this year with a bunch of incentives, and he played well. And so now you have to do something. So what that extension is going to look like, you always try to go to see if there's some sort of track record, right? Is there an extension that someone had a similar situation, final year of their contract, a one-year deal? Maybe it looks like the Geno Smith deal that he just signed, right? Something like that. Maybe it looks like the Derek Carr. I think it's going to be somewhere in that Derek Carr, Daniel Jones neighborhood. That's my guess. Somewhere in that 40 million per year type range, which sounds like a lot, but in the grand scheme of where the quarterback money is going, that's peanuts. I mean, where's Lamar Jackson? Is he at 60? I don't remember where we left off, who's at the top of the pecking order now. But if we're not at 60, we're heading towards 60. We've already – Deshaun Watson, I think, broke the seal on 50, right? What was his deal? 5 years, 230? What's the math on that? Well, that 5 years, 230 is definitely not 50, right? Because 5 and 25, 250 would have been, or was Deshaun 260? No, it couldn't have been. It was 230, right? Almost fully guaranteed. We've seen multiple quarterbacks get deals since Deshaun Watson signed in Cleveland. And so that number has to be over 50. I think Hurts and Lamar were the last two. Hurts came in first and Lamar was soon thereafter. So I think we're somewhere in that close to 60 range. So a $40 million per year contract with an out after, 3 years or whatever is probably going to be the going rate there. I think it's going to be somewhere in that Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr range is what that extension is probably going to look like. Somewhere in with those type of parameters. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me. Your man, Louie T. I said we would get to an hour. We exceeded that by a few minutes, and I made sure I gave y'all the minutes back that I messed up by having to, snafu with the camera. But Merry Christmas to all a good night. If you're a Commanders fan, it's been a great night. It's been a great day. And 2 more games to go. Boy, I wish we could just fast forward through this shit. I don't even want to watch next week. Next week is going to be a bloodbath. They might score 50 on us. If they scored 40 on the Eagles and the Cowboys, what does that mean for us? My goodness. It's going to be ugly. Whew. Hey, we've got 6 days before we have to deal with that. Let's just enjoy Christmas and let's just enjoy the festive nature of the holiday season, and we'll deal with that destruction when it comes. But for the meantime, hey, we're top 3, baby, and we're trending on up. God, I hate my life right now as a fan. You guys get out of here. Enjoy your Christmas day. You'll probably see my face again. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I can't guarantee you that you will. It is Christmas. I might be super litty. I might be enjoying my family, and I might just say to hell with it. And you guys would understand. I know that that's not something that I have to explain to you, but I might be doing nothing, and I might just decide to hop on and talk about all 3 of the games from Monday's action. And look, we got a dandy Monday night, right? It might arguably the best game of the season, Ravens and 49ers. So I may have to just come on live off the strength of that game alone. But in any event, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. From me and mine in the Louie T Network to you and yours, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. You guys have a good one. God bless. Good night.